Hello Capricorn, here is your weekly horoscope for January 31 to February 6th. Well, the heat is off your sign for a little while. Everybody complained about Capricorn planets last year because, well, there was ugliness, as we saw with the pandemic and many other things going on in the world. But now that things have moved on to Aquarius, your sign's being left alone, but unfortunately the fixed signs are not. If you're a Capricorn with Aquarius planets, or Leo, Scorpio, or Taurus, this may affect you as well. What we have going on are a number of very challenging aspects called squares going on in the sky, along with the Mercury retrograde. I did another new article on Mercury retrograde. It is uploaded at my site if you want to check it out. There's a couple others there to explain that if this is the first time you've heard of this Mercury planetary cycle. But this week we have Sun square Mars in Taurus all week, Sun in Aquarius square Mars in Taurus, and both of those signs are rather stubborn. Sun and Mars are very energetic, and when they're in conflict with one another, while on the good side, athletic ability might improve, although there is a potential for injury sometimes. That's about the best that can be said about a Sun-Mars square, is you have a major increase of energy. And most people, well, it's not necessarily so bad. We could all use a boost of energy, especially these days. But unfortunately, in these signs, and for most people with the Sun-Mars square, if you're the type to react and get frustrated easily, then this can be an aspect that will do exactly that. Just leave you feeling frustrated and angry because things may not be going your way. The problem as well is Mercury retrograde kind of throws a wrench into the works. At least immediately it's not terribly aspecting other planets. There's a minor semi-sextile to Pluto. But most of my friends have been telling me they've already been feeling the Mercury retrograde's shadow even before it hit on the 29th. With Mars conjunct Lilith and Jupiter square Lilith most of the week as well, Lilith is a point in the sky. It's not a planet, but it seems to be a point that indicates where we harbor our deepest and darkest feelings and emotions. The very worst of our personality and emotions sometimes are hidden in symbology with Lilith. These planets aspecting it in the way they are this week kind of opens the door to Pandora's box, we could say, and there could be a host of troubles that we'll find out in the world this week. Now, Mars is conjunct Lilith in Taurus, which is positive for your sign. Taurus and Capricorn tend to get on well, but unfortunately the aspects that Mars has been going through the last while, not so good. Hopefully you can escape any trouble this week, at least because the Mars may be trining your sun sign. Saturn and Uranus are squaring one another. Now, your ruling planet is Saturn, so this is important to you. And even though it's moved on to the next sign of Aquarius, the sign it once ruled, it is in conflict with its present ruler, Uranus, in the sign of Taurus. And Uranus and Taurus, they're about as different as black and white and night and day. So, not a great aspect in general, and especially when it squares off with your ruling planet. What most everybody has to deal with is the new status quo. And old-fashioned conservative signs like yours and quite a few others do not like to make changes. You're one of the signs that really resist change. Even sometimes when you see the speeding train coming at you, you don't seem to be able to jump out of the way. We don't know why. It's just the way Capricorn is. We say it's stubborn, but that's even beyond stubborn. Saturn sometimes is just a little too negative. And that's why Capricorn sometimes may be a little less optimistic than other signs. And they do tend to see the glass as half empty, not half full. Well, with the Saturn-Uranus square, it kind of accentuates all of that negative attitude that some Capricorns may harbor. I've met some very cheerful ones in my day as well. And don't get me wrong, Capricorn actually has a great sense of humor and can be very kind, generous, and loving people. But you kind of put your negative attitude as the horse pulling the cart sometimes, and that really makes people take notice. So what do you do with this week and what do you do with this square? Well, the best thing I can say is since Mars is in Taurus, positively aspecting the sun sign of Capricorn, there is opportunity for you to move in some new directions and to make some changes. And by the way, this Saturn-Uranus square is intended for everybody to embrace and accept change as part of 2021. It is part of the healing process we must go through, literally, to heal from the pandemic, but as well, Capricorn has a lot to do with the economy and government, society in general even. So a lot of conflict in those areas. Most governments are really suffering from having to care for their citizens in a way that they didn't expect because of the pandemic. Most countries don't have that kind of money put away. So here in Canada and elsewhere, we're starting to be warned by government that things may be getting serious. We must adhere to guidelines to stay home and be safe. So generally, the best way you can deal with these aspects is don't fight the rules at this point. You love to break the rules. You like to make the rules sometimes just so you can break them. But this is not really a week for breaking the rules unless it's breaking out of what might be a more negative attitude that you may have. Breaking free of old, outworn attitudes that don't serve you anymore are very much highlighted by this aspect. So there may be some chance for you to put aside some negativity and look at the reality that change sometimes brings good news. And you've had enough of bad news, so it might be a good idea, Capricorn, if you look forward to getting some good news soon. Other aspects that I'm seeing here for Capricorn, to me, denote that there are a lot of changes perhaps at foot with you. The Aquarius squares in your money houses are not good. You need to get your money and financial affairs straightened out if you can. I wouldn't sign any documents or sign anything to do with money if you can help it, though, while Mercury is retrograde, because sometimes things don't go as well then. So if you can hold off to the last week of February or into March before you look for any loans or any other financial assistance that you might be indebted to anybody for, best to hold off on that if you can. If you cannot hold off on that, then make sure you read all the fine print before you sign any contracts while Mercury is retrograde. Other than that, there's a few softer aspects with Pluto and Chiron, which helps soften the blow for some people. With Pluto being in your sign, it was conjunct Venus all last week, which probably had you set some new boundaries within relationships. This week, with a semi-sextile to Mercury, there's opportunity for you to open up a little bit and talk about things that are going on, and you may find that part of a healing experience for you. Chiron, the wounded healer, as we call it in astrology, is an asteroid between the orbits of Saturn and Uranus, and it's making some soft aspects. It's sextiling Venus from Thursday on, so at least the early part of the week might be worse. The end of the week, hopefully towards the weekend, might be better for you. I hope you have a good week ahead, Capricorn.